Welcome back to the Unleashing / Perilous Times Great American Team Up. Me and Chris here. We just wanted to have a chat video. We're up in the mountains. We just took the Ranger up here, and we're up at the lake. And,
UP Lake.
There's a number of things we want to talk about. And I feel like we're running out of time. The way things are lining up, you know, Rapture Talk is big time on a lot of the videos that I do, and that's because the way that it looks and stuff. But there's some new things that have come to light, and like I say, whenever I get something out, share it, talk with Chris about it. Chris, you've heard some of this stuff already, me blabbing about it earlier, but
We've been talking about it all day, so.
Exactly. Well, we just kind of want to throw it out there, and we were out driving around, brought the camera, and thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about this stuff a little bit and share it with you guys. Right off the bat, man, let's just jump right into it. The way this stuff is looking right now, for the tribulation to start and the rapture to happen, literally could be weeks away. And that's what it looks like. And it's crazy to think, you know, because we can't guarantee when the rapture is going to happen. I can't say this is when it's going to happen. And even if it looks close, you know, it's still just, it's guesswork, because all we have are lineup of events that we know to look for.
Basically, all the chess pieces are lined up. There's just a few things to happen. And some of them can happen once the tribulation starts. Once the rapture happens and the tribulation begins, things like the temple being built, that can go up quick.
Absolutely. Really? Somebody wrote into a comment, and they're like, look at Trump and the way he makes skyscrapers and stuff like that. And the guy said, I can't remember what football stadium it is. I think it was like the Red Wing Stadium. They did it in a year. All right, they can do this. But there's a number of things going on. I want to throw out some of these ideas and share with them. And you know, one of the things is the economy. Every single time, we know that they control it and they can dump it at any time they want. They've always been able to. The great economic collapses that have happened in the past, they do this. They control the markets. We already know this, right? So when you start hearing about them saying how it could dump in the fall, to me, that is an absolute that they know biblical events. Because I've said it before. The tribulation has to start in the fall, because that 3.5 years into it would put the opening ceremony of the temple in Israel to be built on Passover. And Satan's a copycat. The Antichrist wants to go in at the same time, declare himself to be Messiah. It's such a copycat. The whole thing is. If it was done sometime in the spring, like a spring tribulation starting, and that's when it did, then that would put it in a fall event, and that wouldn't line up with the next things in line, Feast of Trumpets, Feast of Atonement, stuff like that, whereas Feast of Atonement looks like the return of the Lord when we come back at the end of the 1,000 years. Yes. Tabernacle sets up the 1,000-year reign. Feast of Trumpets looks like the rapture, okay, and the last trump. And there's a number of people that think that, me included. I think that it really lines up, and it's next weekend, okay?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
It really does. It really does. So we're going to point out on something that recently was kind of looked into on the seals. When the seals are written, you see one open up, and you think it's a certain amount of time, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. Right off the bat, the 4 horsemen work together. They're a 4-man operation, so we know that they're together. When John was writing Revelations, I think just to make the description so you could break down what each one was to make the point that, you know, they're different events, but we're looking at these going off in an order of events that might take us all the way up to halfway in the tribulation, whereas the trumpets would be in the second half.
And it seems like one event will trigger another one,
exactly.
And another, like war will trigger famine.
Exactly.
You know? We're
going to point out right now with math how this is impossible, and how they look like they all go off at once. And it's going to make a lot of sense. And it's something me and my sister were just talking about. And it's something I haven't thought about before, but I've always rummaged around with the numbers that are in Revelations. And, you know, the other day I'm like, you know what, screw it. After work, I'm like, I'm going to add these up and see how they fall in, because you can't change them. These numbers are set in stone. So stuff has to happen before that or during this time, and it can't happen with like another trumpet blowing within that certain amount of time. So I'm just going to talk about it right now. All right? And we might have to, I'm going to pull out the Bible here just so we can get the exact numbers, and I want to point. Okay. We're going to take you to Revelations 11, verse 14, okay? And I'm going to work my way back, and this is how we're going to get it in a clear way, and it's the best thing. We know that halfway in the tribulation, the 2 witnesses, they die. They get taken over by the Antichrist. They get killed. Their bodies laying in the streets, okay? And we're reading about that right now in Revelations 11:14. All right,
if the wind would go down a little bit.
Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, all right? What just happened is the 2 witnesses were just taken up to heaven, okay? And the seventh angel sounded, and there was a great voice in heaven saying, the kingdom of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and shall reign forever and ever. Okay, this is the seventh trumpet of the judgments. Okay, and it's right after the midpoint of the tribulation. Okay, because it's marked with the second woe. I was listening to a preacher on the radio the other day, and he's like, well, I'm open to ideas, but I believe that the trumpets are in the second half of the tribulation, and right at the end the vials come out, and the first half is the seals, right? But this is not his love for God. It's not something that would keep him out of heaven. It's just an idea that he has. Right off the bat, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, because if you look at the woes that go in chronological order of the warnings, the second woe is at the end of that, and 2 trumpets before that.
Yeah, because there's 3. What?
Exactly. 2 trumpets before that, the first one, and it says 1 woe is past, right after the 5 months are up with those things that sting, okay? So we know that the trumpets take place during the middle of the before the middle of the tribulation, and just slightly after, because the last trumpet is blown when the 2 witnesses go up. So basically, the last half is the bowl judgments, or the vial judgments, whatever you want to call them, all right? Well, I'm going to show you something here on why the seals snap basically at the same time as quick as somebody taking a letter opener and just cutting the whole thing right in half, and it's going to make a lot of sense. All right, so we know that the seventh angel on the trumpet sounds right after the second woe, which is right after the 2 witnesses go up. Now we're going to go back to the 6th trumpet, okay? And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which was before God, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which were bound in the great river Euphrates, and the 4 angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year, for to slay a third part of the men, all right? That's the point. Before the 7th trumpet happens, they play out their whole time, and the 7th trumpet blows at the end. So looking at these guys right here, they're prepared, and they do their damage for a year, a month, a day, and an hour. Let's break away the day and an hour, and we'll just go with a month and a year, okay? It's probably going off of a Jewish year, 360 days, and we'll add the month into there, okay? Just remember these numbers, okay?
Sometimes the Jewish calendar, they'd have to add a month on, right?
Yeah, they do that every few years. They have it lined up, and it's like a leap month of 30 days, because they don't do the leap years like we do.
So if let's say it fell on a situation like that, could that year end up a little longer than expected?
If it could, except they have the days
down numbered. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that it would. Now, knowing that it's 4, we're just going to say a year and a month, okay? And we're just going to like hold off on the day and month, because that's not important for what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to go back to the 5th trumpet, okay? And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven, and unto him was given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and the smoke of the great furnace and the sun of the air darkened the reason for the smoke of the pit. And there came out smoke, locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as scorpions of the earth have power, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God on their forehead. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was the torment of scorpion and strikers. We're going to stop right there. 5 months, and it continues on because at the very end it says in chapter 9:11, and they had a king over them, which was the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name was Hebrew tongue Abaddon, but in Greek it's Apollyon. 1 woe is past, and behold, there come 2 more woes hereafter. All right. Now we're going to assume that trumpet plays out before the 6th one sounds, which is 5 months. All right. Now we've got 2 times that can't be changed: a year and a month, and 5 months. Let's throw the 5 months onto the month with the year. That's a year and a half. That's a year and 6 months. Okay, a year and a half. Okay. So take that, knowing that the midpoint when the 2nd woe happens and the 7th trumpet is blown is right after the 2 witnesses. Come back in time, a year and a half. In the tribulation. That leaves 2 years, right? 2 years from the beginning of when the tribulation starts. Now, working our way back, we still have the 4th trumpet, the 3rd trumpet, the 2nd trumpet, and the 1st trumpet, all right? Within 2 years' time period. How much time do they take? They could take a year. They could take 6 months. Somewhere in that area, because of them having to do with what looks like the planet X coming through the solar system, the second angel sounded his trumpet, and a great mountain of fire took out the ocean, right? 1/3 of it. Then the next one takes out the rivers, and then the fourth angel sounded, a third part of the sun was spent, and a third part of the stars and the moon, which sounds like the rotation of the planet has sped up, all right? This is an idea that I didn't come up with, but I heard before, and I'm like, hey, that makes really good sense scientifically. If we were hit by a couple asteroids that were so big, like the ones that just happened, and it changed the rotation of the planet, it would make the day, the night, and everything else, because we'd be spinning faster, it would cut them in, like they could cut them in 1/3, all right? Knowing that and these events taking place, they might happen fast, bam, 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 or it could be drawn out over a period of 6 months. We'll give it the play of 6 months to a year. Now take that time back again. We're already at 2 years. Take that back to a year, all right? That means that the seals to break before the trumpets are even blown, since they go in order, would give the seals a year to happen, all right? That means it's not going to take all the way to the minute. They don't play out. It happens at once. And that's very interesting, which means the seals, if we give the trumpet 6 months leading up to the fifth one, which we get stuck into numbers, 5 months take place, boom, then a year and a month, which takes us right to the middle of the tribulation. Now, if we look at that, those numbers can't change. The 4 trumpets before that can fluctuate. We don't know. They could happen maybe in a month. I don't think so. I think 6 months, a year's time period, this is going to play out, all right? So that means that the seals take place within a year or a year and a half. Knowing this, I think that the seals break loose just like that. Let's throw a scenario out.
That's quicker, because a lot of people are thinking in 3.5 years.
Exactly. Just like that preacher was thinking, and the trumpets would happen in the second half, and the seals play their time out. I think the seals open the whole thing up, and I'm going to point out why I think that, and it's going to make a lot of sense.
Just an interesting thing to mention before you point that out. Horsemen, a lot of time horsemen ride together. They are together. It makes sense for maybe to happen quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least the first 4.
I agree. I think they work together totally. Okay. Now, knowing this with the trumpets, all right? And every single one of those trumpets looks like it has to do with a body, a planetoid going through the system. I mean, from the very first one, hail, fire, mingle with blood. It's interesting, the blood, because I've heard that when sulfur, or not sulfur, but brimstone, which is sulfur, all right, is superheated, hot, the color of it, and I didn't know this, I looked it up, it was about a year or so ago, is blood red. So when it says blood and hail, fire mingle with blood was coming down, it sounds like sulfur's raining down and it's on fire. That's interesting.
And, you know, there's also going to be rivers of blood and everything too, and part of that could be just from that, the sulfur.
Could be. Second angel sounds great, fire. Next one is wormwood, and then the fourth, it changes the planet speed possibly. These are all impacts from celestial bodies, okay?
Now, wormwood definitely sounds like it could be affecting the colors of the stream, since it says the waters were made wormwood.
All right, exactly. Now, looking at from what inside sources are saying, that they already know it's coming, and they think it could be 2021 when planet X comes through. Yeah. I think it's on a faster time, always have. I don't think it takes 3,600 years for it to roll through, because I believe in a 6,000-year timeline, right? So I think it's on a faster scale. This thing could come through fast. Now, knowing that, and when it comes through, there's other things that we're calculating in. People are still going about their daily business when the rapture happens. All right? If we knew a planet was coming through, people would be freaking out right now. Nobody would be giving a crap about getting in marriage.
People are buying houses, getting married.
Exactly.
Worrying about their new trucks.
So knowing this, and knowing that the start of that would be a year and a half into the tribulation, right? A year to a year and a half. Let's give it a year and a half so it gives people more time. And if this stuff's going to start happening, that would put it around January, February, March, 2020, all right? About a year sooner than what they think, okay? So it would be catching them off surprise. People wouldn't know about it. Stuff would be going down now. And we're looking at all these asteroids that are coming in. It's starting to hit the news more and more and more, right? Yeah. Exactly. They're picking up. I just saw one today. I just saw one another. They had one that went into Greenland. They're keeping it under wraps because they don't want to scare people. Meanwhile, we know about the Lucifer telescope, right? So this stuff is going to break loose, but it hasn't hit the public yet to start freaking out. Now, we know earthquakes are, all right? Now, us Christians know the earth's groaning, all right? But there's a scientific reason why this stuff happens. When we look at stuff, it can line up. God does stuff that's miraculous, but he'll also use things at the same time, right? I think there's something out there that's causing the gravity and other stuff, the stress on the planet to loosen those plates.
Celestial bodies.
Yeah.
Yanking out.
I think it is, and it makes perfect sense that's why there's this huge uptick in the earthquakes and all the Ring of Fire stuff that's happening, because it's going off the charts like we've never seen before. Record volcanoes, record earthquakes, all right? So it's coming soon, yet the people still don't know about it. Now, let's get into the seals, all right? We know that they can dump the economy, but they're on standby. What are they on standby for? The start of the tribulation, the Antichrist, to make the peace deal. We already know that. That is what they're doing, and that's why every fall they talk about, oh, the economy can crash, but we're not sure. It's a fall event because that's what lines up with the 3.5 years for him to go into Passover into the Jewish temple that gets made, right? Now, knowing this, and knowing that if it's a fall event and the peace deal happens, let's say on the 25th of September, then that's proof right there enough that the economy crashing worldwide and them dumping the market and it happening that fast, being the third horse, then in between that is also the second horse, which is World War III taking place. All these fire at once. Now let's look at the fifth seal. Under the altar, it talks about the slain that are dead. All right. Now we know this only goes for a year and a half. So at max, right? So these Christians that have died take place during that, and we also know that the fourth horse, it says that death from the plagues that are before that, from war and starvation, from the famine and the price inflation, people can't afford to eat and stuff like that, it kills 1/4 of the earth. Knowing this, and that it has to only max go to a year and a half, this stuff is taking place like that. Now, looking at that, knowing that all this happens and playing out, look at what happens with the sixth seal. What are they doing? The sixth seal, it says that they, okay, let's see here. First seal.
Okay, right.
Seal, fifth. Okay, sixth seal, all right? Check this out. Revelation 6:12, and I beheld when it had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black like sackcloth, hair, and the moon became blood. All right, this great earthquake, it's going to shake stuff up. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree cathers her untimely figs when she is shaken by a mighty wind. And heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their place, all right? Big earthquake, something shaking it up, the celestial body. And the kings of the earth and the great man, the rich man, the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks and mountains, and said unto the mountains, rocks, fall on us, hide us from hence, from him that sitteth on the throne, and the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come. They realize Judgment Day is happening, right?
And how many of them are building bunkers and things right now, like it says, hid themselves in the mountains?
Exactly. What's the point of what I'm trying to say here is, why did it take to the sixth seal for them to say the day of the Lord has come? Now, that doesn't make sense. It's like, we've already had World War III and everything else. However, if this stuff were to kick off, and at the same time, maybe a few months into it, we have an earthquake that started from the planet, and they know it's coming, and they're starting to hide themselves in dens because they know it's coming, not only would that prove that all the seals snap like that at the same time, and it's an event that takes place, all of these happening at once over the first year and a half, it would explain why they're saying the great day of the Lord's come, and they didn't notice it at the beginning, because it's happening at the same time, and they go, the day of the Lord's coming. It is happening at the same time. John's just splitting them up. You see what I'm saying?
That makes sense, yeah.
Otherwise, why would they wait to the sixth seal to say the day of the Lord's finally come? Now, if these all happen at the same time within like 3 months, 4 months, boom, World War III breaks out, boom, total economic collapse, boom, people are dying from it within the first year and a half, because what do they say? They predict if an EMP happened in America, 90% of the population would be dead, right? And then the earthquake happens, they're going to be saying the day of the Lord's finally come, because it's going to hit them hard. Yeah. Like, whoa, look at all this stuff that's just happening.
It'll be more obvious.
Exactly, and I think that's why they say it at the sixth seal. That makes sense to me. So that in the first year and a half, these seals don't drag out. It's not, anytime anybody underestimates the tribulation, it's always something that I'm just like, you have no idea what you're talking about. It is not, it doesn't say it's going to be the worst time that ever has been. It doesn't say that men will, why do I see men with their hands on their loins like a woman in travail, just trembling and in fear? Everybody's freaking out because it's the worst time ever.
And that's not even the wrath, the trumpets and vials yet.
No, it hasn't even got to that stuff. That's the warning. And I think at the sixth seal, they know from the earthquake and everything else that something's coming. Because what happens right after that? Boom, we start getting hit with those celestial bodies. Right in the trumpets, all right? And they start before that, and we know that that gives a year and a half or about at least 2 years at max, but a year and a half to the middle of the tribulation that all this stuff happens. It's very interesting.
And the Antichrist knows he's got a short time at that point.
Yes, exactly. And then he goes in there and the two witnesses. But we know the two witnesses and stuff like that. This stuff has to happen in that order. But that would mean the seals would break out. Now, knowing the inside scoop, if it's true about the planet in 2021, and I think it would be faster, then the stuff that looks like war right now, the peace deal, literally this month on the 25th, Feast of Tabernacles, and the economic collapse they say that could happen this fall, like the experts are warning, all right? With the looming of war, the preparation we've never seen before.
China and Russia and what they have going on.
I would have to say this thing's ready to kick off. It's ready to kick off now. Can I guarantee it? Absolutely not. But we're looking at the signs, and when you put them in, then the possibility of the rapture happening next weekend on the Feast of Trumpets is totally a possibility. I'm going to be in Sandpoint, just like in that vision. I'm just throwing that out there. I got to pick up some more stuff. And it's going to be on Sunday when I'm going to be up there. And that just happens to be over the start of the Feast of Trumpets. So that's very interesting, too. Just throwing that out there.
You know, I know the dream you had well, because I've heard it a lot. And
yeah.
I'll be paying attention, you know. While
all
you're
of it's
there.
come true, and even though
I hope,
yeah,
I hope.
Even though if it doesn't, all of it has come true so far, and I share every single thing without. I'm not keeping anything a secret. All of this could play out, and it's something to be paying attention to for sure. I'm telling you, man, it's lined up like never before. Let's say the Planet X Nibiru thing is 2021, then we would push another year. Mm-hmm. And then the year and a half line up to when the planets and the two witnesses and everything, that would line up with their timeline if their timeline's right on when Planet X comes through in 2021. If I'm right on it and it comes through in 2020 and you look at the numbers and it would give it a year and a half from starting and letting the seals go, which is exactly what it looks like, and that second part, the year and a half, that's the numbers. I mean, it has to play out with that 5 months, then a year and a month. A year and a half. That plays out in that order. And we know that from not only the woe that happens in that order, but also to the second part and the numbers counting up to when the seventh trumpet is blown. Those numbers don't change. They're not overriding each other. It's one trumpet, then the next. The seals, however, I'm telling you, they look like they'll go at once because it says a quarter of the earth dies, all right? You would need a year to a year and a half to kill off the quarter. But it's not going to happen like that. It's going to take a year and a half. Why? Because of starvation, what it says, from death, the writer, and from the war and stuff like that.
Well, it really doesn't seem like there's any time for recovery.
Exactly. Before, boom, the trumpets come out, and everybody's like, the day of the wrath finally come. I think that all happens at once. In that first year and a half, they go, wow. I don't think they're waiting to that time. I think it all happens almost simultaneously within a few months. And then the year and a half is the remnants, the leftover from the damage, the economy, them trying to get stuff together, blah, blah, blah.
And the world has seen disasters before, but this will be something where it's night and day difference, and they can't
absolutely
ignore it as what it is.
I don't know. All I know is that it's lined up right now, and it's hard as it to believe. It looks like it could kick off this September. And what do you know? 70 years that ends, I think, next weekend or whatever, and boom, starting off right into the new one, they have a peace deal. And we don't know what it is. It's the deal of the century that Trump's bringing forth. And we don't know what's going to happen in the UN Assembly and stuff like that. If the rapture were to happen next weekend, it would cause enough hysteria, they'd be looking for anything. That would be 3 weeks, roughly, that they would have before the tribulation starts. Very interesting.
And as far as building the third temple and everything, this seems like a pretty good time for that to be done with the way Trump and Netanyahu get along and everything, and moving the embassy to Jerusalem and everything. It seems like a good time.
This would also mean that Gog and Magog war happens during this time at the start of the tribulation. And God defending Israel by killing off 90% or 5/6 of the Gog-Magog army is the start of him dealing with Israel again, because that's what Jacob's trouble is. We're in the church age right now. Once we're gone out of that, boom, taken up in the rapture, God goes back to dealing with Israel, refining them into his children. And he does. And lots of them die, and then some of them are refined the 144,000 that are marked, them going into Petra. We're just going to say Petra for their time at the end of the tribulation, all that. But he's protecting them during that time. And Gog and Magog, he protects them divinely. Now, we know he's done it before during the Six-Day War and things like that. And it's totally God's intervention. If you've read anything on that, you can see the miracles that happened during that time. But the Gog Magog one, I mean, it says the world knows that he's with them. I think that's very interesting because that sounds like when he's dealing with them in the tribulation. Stuff's lined up really good right now. Really good. Like I've never seen. Now, if we go further and war were to break out on the scale that it looks like it will, calculating everything because we don't throw anything away, you look at it all at once, that isn't daily business, people giving in marriage. That's total pandemonium. Nobody's giving in marriage. And everybody can see what's happening when God takes his people. But right now, before that stuff were to break out, it still fulfills that prophecy that it's just like Noah's time. People are giving in marriage, going about their daily business, and boom, like a thief in the night, he grabs them out of there. Except for the ones who are aware. Look at what we're doing. We're completely aware of it. Literally, it could happen next weekend, and we're talking about it. We've been talking about it the whole time. We're aware, we're Christians, yet the world has no clue about what's going on.
And like God said, he made the celestial bodies for signs and seasons and years.
He made the stars and the signs in the sky.
How many signs has there been? And sure, we don't need them. We know what's coming. We read our Bible. We know. But none of these people are paying attention to it. And you see all these different stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The eclipses, the meteors and everything.
Yeah, I know, and it's picking up more and more. I don't see, now I've said before, I'm like, yeah, we're so close to war, and then it stops, But let's calculate something else in, the birth pains, right? This is also a reference to look for it that's given to us in Scripture that we can notice. The birth pains would increase, and it's not going to go on for years. It's laid out like a woman that's about to give birth, and we are in the quiet part right now. They're talking about peace and safety. We've had them hit, and now we're going through the stage, and the peace deal's about to give, and we know that when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction, that's the birth. That starts the tribulation, and that's exactly what it looks like right now. I don't see birth pains going on for another year. I just don't. Could it happen? Of course, because we can't guarantee anything, but we're watchmen. It's very interesting.
It is.
Yeah. Anyways, very interesting stuff. We wanted to get this out to you. Time's getting so short. I'm pumping out videos as fast as I can. I still got to work and stuff like that, but things are lining up really good. That Left Behind video, that is for sharing, all right? If the internet were to go down and you have that recorded, literally, you can have that on a USB, you can plug it into somebody's computer. Anybody who's left behind can still watch that. That is why I put that out. So anybody out there who needs to leave a Left Behind video, doesn't know how to, just simply record it, boom, no problem, and you have something that you can put in a little gift package so they know exactly what's going on if you can't get to them in time. I believe that if you leave a message with your face and talking, you can get to loved ones and family a little bit easier. That's my personal opinion. But let's say you're not very good at that, all right? Use my video. Use any videos you want and save them. I've got ones on USBs that have some Trey Smith videos and stuff like that. Other things that are recorded from YouTube. Talk about Noah, how that lines up. Some of my videos. And these are just little things that you can leave behind. Give people instruction. Let them know. You could be saving lives and getting them to heaven. And man, if you meet them up there and say, hey, you left something behind that helped get me saved, and that's what happened. Oh my gosh, it's going to be absolutely awesome. So take it seriously, get serious, keep talking to your loved ones, because man, this is lining up. It's lining up like we have never seen. It is getting so close, and we can see it happening right in front of us. Very interesting times we're in, and we might not have another week. I mean, literally, it is getting so close. We'll see. We just keep watching. We're watchmen on the wall, but we wanted to get this out to you, and I felt it was really important. These are some numbers that I just punched in this week, and I thought it was really interesting how it lines up, and I just wanted to share it.
Yeah, keep in mind, like he says, that we are running out of time to get people saved. And, a really awesome thing to happen is my uncle, who we would have thought was impossible, he got saved recently.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he looks healthier. He's in some pretty bad shape with health, and he looks healthier.
Yeah, already when I saw him, it's like 9 days. You like had a shadow of death on his face, and now it's like been lifted, almost like a light. It's incredible, and just like that. And he just got saved, you told me, and that's like so incredible when you told me. I've been praying for him for a while.
He's got a CD he's going to listen to of the Bible. so he
Yeah.
can listen to it, because he can't really see, he can't read anything.
Yeah, the CD thing, no, that's really cool because I've had a friend before, and he's an older gentleman, him and his wife, and they would listen to the Bible every night. I can't believe the difference it made. And
Yeah.
I like to read it, myself, but like just even listening it, you can't hear the Word of God without being moved and changed. It's very powerful. It's alive. It's living.
And using him for example, don't give up on anybody. If it seems hopeless, don't give up, because
Absolutely.
you never know what's going to happen.
Time's drawing near. Time's almost out. Keep paying attention, keep looking up, but it's getting close, and we wanted to share this with you. So thanks for joining us on Leashing/Perilous Times, Great American Team Up. It's fun getting together, but we'll catch you next time. God bless.
God bless.